Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm your host, Kevin Wallace, and before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about our sponsor, Streetside Brewery. Look, these guys are located in historic Columbia Tusculum neighborhood on the east side of Cincinnati, and Streetside is really the perfect mix of just local neighborhood watering hole and a modern craft beer brewery. They have 24 beers on tap, and I promise you, you will not find a bad one amongst them. These guys were great when they had us out for the live show for the CONCACAF Champions Cup kickoff to start FC Cincinnati season, and they do events all throughout the year. They do a pint night on Tuesday nights. They do Premier League mornings. Tons of really fun events there. But a special note to Postcast listeners, if you mention the Cincy Postcast at the bar when you're getting your beer, they will take $1 off of your beer, and you let them know that we sent you their way. You can find them at 4003 Eastern Avenue or in the fridge of wherever you're picking up your next beer. Again, a huge thank you to Streetside Brewery for sponsoring the Postcast. And on today's episode, a proper two-parter for you in this one. In part one, it is New York City FC's defeat to the table-topping #1 in the Supporters Shield standings team, FC Cincinnati. A 1-0 victory. We talk all about the team, the narratives around this game, and everything in between. And then we wrap it up in part two with some larger narratives around the league, looking at the referee situation, and again, just marveling at how good that Supporter Shield standing race looks at the moment. Put it together, you got yourselves a Monday morning postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more, I'm joined by two gentlemen who are also super excited to have finally seen a win in person. And now I'm saying that and I realize it actually doesn't apply to all of us here. I'm joined by the Chief. I'm joined by Grayson. Chief, how was that first TQL Stadium win, huh?
I'm told it was incredible. No, I am... it is the wife's spring break, so Mrs. Chief elected to travel out of the city for a couple of days to decompress, consume various controlled substances, alcohol, and the like. So we're up in Asheville. I watched the match on my phone because if you've been to Asheville before, you know, not exactly the type of city that you can ask them to throw the game on at most places. Just not the vibe of a lot of the places down here.
Yep.
And I am currently joining you live from the business center of the Renaissance Hotel. So any background noise, I apologize. I apologize in advance for the quality of this audio. If you're going to complain about that, screw off.
We're making do.
This is the best we got, okay?
Grayson, then for you, would you have rather experienced this win from a distant hotel, from a city of your choice, or would you have rather been there with the people in TQL Stadium?
I also wasn't there with the people.
I love this. We're so good at this.
I enjoyed how I experienced it. A win's a win.
Yeah.
I was, my biggest regret though is I had wanted so hard to see Nick Hagglund's return to TQL Stadium, and I missed it.
Man, you missed a good one. I mean, we'll go through this game, but man, I saw him getting ready to come in as the substitute. My mind was racing. I was like, who's a big white guy we'd be bringing into the game right now? Like, I couldn't imagine who would be being brought in. And then the numbers went up. Oh, right. Hagglund's on this team still.
He still plays here, it turns out.
And look sharp in this one. I will tell you from the in stadium, I was there. So somebody on this podcast actually watched this game in person. It was way colder than I thought it would be. And that was a pretty miserable walk back because I did not dress appropriately. So you did not miss anything from that perspective. It was a fairly, I mean, it wasn't sparse, but there were definitely plenty of season ticket holders that called this one in and weren't going.
Yeah, it's a perfect storm. It's the opening weekend of March Madness, which we covered extensively on the last episode. And I don't know, like the teak is fun. Live games are fun. But sometimes when the wind really gets whipping, you ask some questions about your life choices when you're walking to and from a stadium. So it does not make you a bad fan every so often just to opt out.
Yeah.
Just, make sure you're listing your seats for a reasonable price and see if you can't get somebody else there. I don't know. I
gave mine away. I did not sell.
Look at you.
Wow. What a guy.
I gave mine away to folks who are not regularly attending games. So
is this argument, Kevin, are we hearing a little pushback on the evening start times for Saturday? Because there was a discussion in the zeitgeist around this team that people were upset that we were having consistent Sunday afternoon kickoffs. They finally listened to the people, give them what they want that Saturday night kickoff, and the first words out of your mouth are a complaint. So really, who's the bad fan on this podcast?
I mean, I was definitely a fan of Sunday afternoon games. Like it was not a bad time slot.
How dare you, sir?
Especially at this point in the season, like the chance for the temperature to drop to 30 degrees is still very much there and experienced over the weekend. Like, I don't know. We don't need to be staying out too late at that temperature. No, I was just going to say on the basketball front, pre-gaming at Northern Row was sat next to a couple, I assume they were a couple, wearing black polos that had the Big 12 logo and the NIT logo. I was like, whoa, who are you? Turns out the official scorer and official timekeeper of UC's NIT game were also just taking in the festivities at Northern Row before the game. So there you go.
I'm in a city where they're hosting NCAA tournament games right now.
Oh, wow.
Or they were until last night, I guess. And I think it was Friday at dinner, I saw a big contingent of people in Kentucky gear.
Oh.
Like, I guess you guys just prepaid your hotel or something.
The flight's not till later,
That has to be the toughest weight in all of sports, is that you go and you shell out all this money to go to an NCAA tournament or to like a conference tournament. And then it's like, I'm stuck in this city for another 2 days. I can't just leave. There's no amount of money I wouldn't pay to advance my flight to the next flight to get the hell out of wherever I am at that moment. That's one time where it's worth the extra $500 to pay to get out on an earlier flight.
Especially when you've probably only packed team gear. So wherever you are, people know exactly why you're there and how miserable they can make you, with just a couple of quick comments. Yeah, it's good. It's always good.
I'm also curious, like, how does one get involved with the NIT? And like, if you're involved with the NIT, do you sit every day and like, you tell your friends, oh, I work for the NIT. And like the first reaction is, well, I mean, are you going to try to work for the NCAA at some point?
It's like, imagine watching on Selection Sunday and you're like, yes, they didn't pick them. Like, you're just like, you're super excited for all the bubble teams that don't make it.
Do you think that there's like a whole contingent of like World Soccer Talk types who like orbit around the NIT and, just talk about how like, well, the NCAA, because of all the conference commitments and all the politicking, it's really more of a closed system, and you get into the NIT based on sporting merit.
I mean, Chief, you probably know this better than I do, but my understanding is the NIT was the more prestigious of the two for years and years and years until...
That is 100% accurate. Until the NCAA became the behemoth that it is today. Yeah, back in the pre-1960s, the NIT was the invitational tournament. You had to be invited to play in this tournament, and everybody else got what was left over. Now it's the also ran where it's like, oh, I guess we'll do that. I don't know.
Right. This actually came up in today's New York Times flashback quiz.
Ooh.
1951, a betting scandal hurts the NIT, the top college hoops tournament, and helps its rival, the NCAAs.
Boom. There it is.
Because in college football, it's exactly the opposite. It is an invitational process for their tournament still. The NCAA, quote unquote, that format only exists in the FCS, the football championship subdivision. So they haven't made the switch yet because, I don't know, the NCAA, they forgot how to look for money. I have no
Yeah, it is funny. Like every year, the NCAA Division I college football champion is always like Villanova or South Dakota State. You know, it's never Georgia or Alabama, right? It's very funny.
I'm sure the World Soccer Talk people also refer to MLS as like the soccer invitational tournament, since you have to be invited to join MLS.
They probably also call the FCS. They probably are like really hardcore about that being the NCAA champion, you know, because it's like the Premier League is the Premier League and the Football League
is the real
is
one.
everything below it.
Yeah, because they have a playoff, you know, up until next season. Yeah, they were the only ones with a playoff, a true determiner of who the best team is every year.
We should probably explain this bit, just because I do wonder how insular we are on this. So if you're not familiar, World Soccer Talk is a website that ostensibly is about where to find televised soccer matches, but is just populated by the worst people you can possibly imagine. The writing staff.
I'm not going to go that far. I can imagine some pretty bad people.
No, I'm willing to stake my territory out on this. I'm going to stick to my take on this. These are truly awful people. They're like the worst person in your mentions on Twitter. Whenever you tweet something positive about FC Cincinnati, the person that's like chiming in, well, actually, it's they use the $sign in place of the S in MLS.
Yeah.
They're mad that we bought you're a franchise, not a club, like those people.
Is it Kartik?
Yeah.
Is that the World Soccer Talk guy?
Yeah.
I imagine like Kartik is like a Baron Harkonnen type. Just like every time there's like a MLS thing to talk about, he like hovers over and just like drools over you, and he's like, you know, it's like they're not getting any people watching Messi on TV.
They literally ran an article just for to ground this. They literally ran an article about how MLS tweets too many highlights of its product and it devalues their broadcast deal with Apple.
And then they'll simultaneously run an article next week saying it's awful that MLS hides its product behind a paywall and that it's destroying access to soccer in the United States.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. They're not quite U.S. men's national team truthers, but they're in the orbit. All right. They're in that ballpark. I don't think that I've seen anything from them that was explicitly in that direction. But
the U.S. men's national team stuff, they are a bit beyond the pale, frankly.
Yeah.
Like some of those people, I genuinely worry about their mental health. I just think the World Soccer Talk people are just dipshits. The people with the American flag emoji in their Twitter handle and the letters USMNT something flag truther or ultra, or those people, I ask a lot of questions about if they have access to firearms.
And they're Americans, so they do.
Yeah. Right.
And this is not by any means, I think, representative of like your average person attending a U.S. national team game.
Correct.
But
these
people say some really heinous things.
These people, they won't attend a men's national team game because they also hate the type of people who follow the U.S. men's national team. Like they're simultaneously angry at Greg Berhalter and angry at him selecting MLS players, but then also think the American Outlaws are a bunch of sellouts and I would never want to associate with them.
Yeah.
They're just, they're just riders for the for the product, and they don't really critically question anything that happens.
And they might be right about that, but it's the other stuff that really bothers me.
But that's the reason why they're not at a game, too. I don't know. I also want to point out at this time, too, there is an account called World Soccer Talk PitchBot that does nothing but pitch fake headlines. You should be following. There's an account, New York Times PitchBot, that's one of the funniest follows on Twitter, up there with the Dick Nixon parody account. But I, for a while, was doing World Soccer Talk headlines in the manner of the New York Times PitchBot. And I'm going to claim that I inspired this. I really am. But somebody made that into a full account. It is not me. Whoever is doing it, you're doing the Lord's work. And I really appreciate it. But it's definitely worth a follow if you at all weren't already turned off by the last 5 minutes of conversation.
And I mean, that is a perfect comparison. Like the FCS truther to FBS to MLS to. The thing is, though, that always kills me is that these people don't have anything else to fall back on in the US. Like USL is everything MLS is, but just smaller stakes, smaller dollar amounts. And so is NISA. Like, it's a closed system.
That can't still exist, right? NISA has to have gone bankrupt at this point.
They had a team forfeit their Open Cup match because they didn't have, I don't think, a single player or even a coach signed, and their regular season starts next week. So, yeah. It's cool. It's going well over there. But even like the lowest of lower divisions, like the adult amateur leagues, they're not open. You can't just walk up and say, I have a team in your league now. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Different conversation for a different day.
Time. Now, how you doing? Yeah, no, I'm recording a podcast.
This is great.
No, it's cool. No, have a good night.
Do they know soccer? Bring them on.
Right. MLS fans, how do you feel about pro? No, they walked away.
Oh, damn. That'll get you out of there. Well, there was a game this weekend. New York City FC, the Pigeons, as I like to call them. Apparently, half their fan base despises that nickname. The other half has fully embraced it. So,
don't they have pigeons all over their stadium?
They did in the rendering,
but they have
yeah, the rendering they put pigeons up everywhere.
That's right. They play in
Is there any MLS team that likes its moniker? Because I feel like half of the FCC fans hate the Gary moniker as well, like the Garys.
The Garys is interesting. I think it undermines Gary personally, but I don't mind the Knifey Lions. I think that's a decent mascot name. The orange and blue is just like a default one you're going to get, so that doesn't count for anything.
I mean, I'm partial to the FC.
The myself. FC, yeah, that's where it's at. Yeah. Like everybody else can be a team, but we are the FC.
That's the one that really sets off people. There's like a certain amount of people that are like really triggered by like calling the team the FC, and they'll like quote the media guidelines to me, and I'm like, oh, now we care about the media guidelines.
Yeah, half of FCC's own staff should probably brush up on that.
I'm like the only person who didn't agree to abide by these, and you're trying to hold me to them?
The FC.
Look, it really does. It pisses a lot of people at the club off. Like, a lot of people get mad when they see how much fun people have just referring to them as the FC.
The thing is, with anything, dare I use the trigger word for Das Harks, anything organic, you got to just lean into it. Like, fighting it is only going to strengthen the resolve of anybody else doing it. Well, and it's already out there.
Have you guys seen like the show Sons of Anarchy?
A brief few episodes.
They call it the MC.
They call it the MC.
Yeah. And
not a single person through, I don't know, 7 seasons of that show says like, well, MC just stands for motorcycle club. And there's a lot of motorcycle clubs. There's the Mayans. There's, how do I know which one you're talking about?
The Detroit Highwaymen. Iron Horsemen.
Yeah.
No, because you know what I mean when I say the MC, because you're one of my brothers, right?
Right.
Like this is our familial term we use.
Right.
And we all know what we're talking about because we're in the in group.
And every other team.
Many people have noted that an SG is just an MC without motorcycles. And without crime, I guess, too.
That was like the original thesis of De Pridengard, but it quickly sprawled.
That was the original thesis. I've read part 1. I didn't get that impression, but I like the background.
All right, here's a question. Because we're just never going to talk about this fucking game.
Fair enough.
Make sure you bookmark it for the person who actually wants to hear our soccer content.
Hey, this is all soccer content. This is all fucking soccer content. Right, I have put this is not. Timestamps. We're not talking Star Wars or Star Trek or the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's only been one Dune reference made so far. We're actually talking soccer.
So I saw that comment on Twitter, and the guy's like, "It'd be really helpful if you could tell us when you talk about soccer." And I'm like, well, like now we got to like learn how to talk about soccer.
Yeah, lame. Not doing that.
Like, I should probably learn something about the sport.
Right.
Also, I have put timestamps in every single episode since like episode 5. Like somebody suggested it.
Since it became very clear that like there's a lot of this episode to skip over if you just want to get to the FC Cincinnati parts.
And I get it. That's fine and totally fair. So
that's a valid criticism of the product. I'm not. I think that's an accurate take right there. So my question is, if you go to a random citizen in the city of Cincinnati and you say, what do you think that will get the more? What's the word I'm looking for? It's a word medium, podcasting. Cause more recognition. If you say, I'm going to see the FC, I'm going to see the Garys, or I'm going to see the Orange and Blue play this weekend.
Oh yeah, it's the FC 100%.
It's FC or the FC. Yeah,
it's the FC. If you say the FC, I think more people would associate that with FC Cincinnati than literally any other nickname that you could possibly use for the club.
Yeah. What is that in politics? Isn't that your Q score? Like how well known you are in the in the general populace?
Well, it's kind of like when there's a word for this and I don't know what it is, but like when you see civic design where sidewalks are in one place, but there's clearly a worn area where people are using a different
desire path. Yes.
A desire path. Like the FC is the desire path of the team nickname. And you've just got to lean into it. That's where people want it to go. So
that's why colleges, you'll see they have like weird sidewalk patterns a lot of times. It's exactly that. There was a desire path going from the chem building to the cafeteria. And after 20 years of people just walking there, like, fine, just pave that path.
They have this really nice circular path that goes around. And then they realize everyone was cutting straight through. So now there's a straight line right through the circle.
Yep. I was really heartened to see on UC's campus a particular desire path I took for many years now finally became stairs. They actually painted full steps where we used to cut up through this hill. That's a commitment. I really liked that. So yeah, that's the FC.
Yeah, and as with anything, if you want us to stop saying the FC,
money, please.
Can be bought.
Give us Laurel's credentials specifically.
No. I just want money. Just give us money.
What is the postcast? It's 3 guys just desperate to sell out as soon as possible.
I've never once claimed to be an authentic, organic, in it for the good of the sport or the team. From day one, we've said we could be bought off. So
right, no, this is not about podcasting merit here. We're buying our way out.
Yeah, I think I've seen like a couple of people suggest that there was like some like astroturfing involved with like starting this podcast, and I'm like, buddy,
oh no,
nobody would make this on purpose.
No.
That's hilarious. I had this thought the other day. I don't remember what prompted it, but I want to go back to listen to Cincy Soccer Talk. It's got to be episode 2 or 3, where they spent 20 minutes talking about my post on Reddit where I was criticizing the SGs, where me and the chief in the good old days of 2016 were going round and round about the role of SGs. And Cincy Soccer Talk spent a lot of time talking about that conversation, but specifically calling me be like a huge jerk and everything, which was warranted, to be clear.
They were right about that. That was the day I found out responding to you that Reddit had a character limit for how long a reply could be.
That's a dangerous thing to discover.
Good old Redditing on the clock.
Yeah, but
Good old days.
If this was AstroTurfed, I think they would have picked somebody, I don't know, a little more amenable to the product from the get-go. So,
or if this was
AstroTurfed, it would be literally anything else.
They would force us to talk about the fucking team if this was AstroTurfed.
Hey guys, love what you do. Could you stop with the bullshit?
And with that, let's pivot to the game, as brought to you by FC Cincinnati.
God, that would be so good. I really wish.
Guys, what another great effort by FC Cincinnati, a club that can quite literally do nothing wrong on the field or off it.
Yeah, speaking of that, I did find a headline about some of the off-the-field stuff.
Oh, no. Are we doing this again?
This came from ProPublica.
Oh, God. That's
Jesus.
Probably good.
We promise to do better. Okay. Vowing improved transparency. Jeff Birding introduces FC's new chief media officer, Kim Mulkey.
Yeah, it would make things more interesting around here. I'll tell you that much. Do you, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Usually you've got like some witty transition that gets us to talking about the on-field effort. Kevin, where is that tonight?
God, I don't know. It's with the LSU women's basketball team, I think.
As are we all.
Whoa,
in
hang on, wait a
time
second.
Of strife.
Wait a second. No, let's talk about this game. Let's talk about this team as I drop things around me here. FC Cincinnati wins 1-0. Heroic effort in this one. They win. I'll go through the lineup here, but before I do, Chief, good win or bad win?
Great win.
Okay, that's what I want to hear.
I mean, we said it last week. I still believe it. This was a very must-win game. They hadn't scored a goal at home in MLS play. They hadn't won a game at home in MLS play. NYCFC, especially with the roster issues they're currently having and the players that are unavailable, this was a game you looked at on paper. FC Cincinnati, which was the favorite, should have been the favorite. You need to win games like this.
Yep.
And we'll talk about where, maybe things could have been a little better, but at the end of the day, it's a binary thing. Did you win or not? And they won, and they got the home win, got the crowd a little psyched up. Fortress status resumed.
Confirmed. Yeah.
Confirmed. I mean, we were on the verge of revoking fortress status for TQL. That's not something I want to do, but the team was forcing me to do it by stubbornly refusing to win games and score goals at TQL Stadium. So for now, we can put the fortress conversation to bed. We can still keep playing the Dan McNally intro for the Bailey. We're still there. It's still there.
Yeah, Grayson, same question to you. Good win, bad win?
I kind of don't believe in bad wins. But I'd say it's a good win. You would have liked to have seen them win by more.
Sure.
But New York came out and they wanted to scrap, and they were allowed to scrap.
Yes.
And, I think after watching the game, it was pretty clear which team was better at playing soccer, which
yeah,
I'll take.
Right. Yeah, it was certainly a very thrilling game if you're a big fan of the three teams perspective of the sport of soccer. There was a lot going on from all three teams out there. Should you forget, that is what was it?
Christina Uncle calls it third team.
Yeah, and it was in the Rockwell interview.
Yeah, Corey Rockwell interview.
Rockwell.
He was like, we're kind of the third team out there.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Sure. Why don't they put their names on the back of their shirts then, huh? Interesting.
Have a press conference afterward to talk about how the game went out there.
How so many weird calls. And we'll touch more on this later, but like there were just so many moments where it was clear that like the control of the game was slipping away. And just like the basic rules of the road were just like not being enforced properly or just unevenly. And like yeah, I understand, like we've all seen like bad calls go both ways and stuff. It's just like weird stuff of like he got really particular about restarts. The referee was very particular about like exactly where the ball was when it was restarted. It was so strange watching it back. No, I think this was a good win. I think in a league of parity like MLS, even a team like New York City, which is coming into this on a bit of a rough streak, they did win their last game out against Toronto, a team we could not beat in our own stadium. You can't take for granted like, oh, this is a bad team. This is a crappy team. And so I think it's very difficult to find games where you should be expecting multi-goal wins, basically. And for that reason, I think this was a great performance. Take into account then some of the weird refereeing decisions like VAR pulling Kipp Keller's goal back, which is still breaking my heart, or the bizarre decision to award a handball. VAR overturned the handball. We had full clear possession of the ball in the box. Yuya Kubo in particular, I think it was Kubo, or it was him or Yedlin, was right at the top of the box, like ready to get the ball laid off to him for a clean shot on goal. The play was called dead. When play resumed, it was a free kick to New York City FC. Just like one of the most bizarre moments of play I've ever seen.
We still remain. I still remain firmly committed to the replacement refs.
Oh, my resolve is waning.
Having said that, you're making it very hard for me to love you right now.
Yeah.
You're making it very, very hard for me to love you.
And, I watched the game for, I think, the first time with the Tommy G audio.
Nice.
And I don't know if the public criticism policy applies to a team employee like Tommy G. Or I don't know if I guess he could be a contractor. But he was letting the ref have it.
Letting him know a little bit.
Yeah.
Good.
I liked it. Yeah. To be clear, I liked it.
First off, I always want a Homer broadcast crew to be homers. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
If we're not getting calls,
every call is nonsense. The refs have an agenda. Right. Yes, I want that. I want my bad conspiracy theories to be validated by the broadcaster. I don't feel crazy if he's saying it.
But yeah, I think you take everything into account. And again, this league is way more even than even its most devoted fans will ever give it credit for, especially in comparison to other soccer leagues. And yeah, this was a great win. To run through the lineup here real quick, it was Roman Celentano in goal, Ian Murphy, your left center back, Matt Miazga in the middle, Kipp Keller getting the start on the right, Luca Oriano, your left wing back, DeAndre Yedlin, your right wing back, Buka and Kubo were your anchors in midfield, with Acosta and Baird ahead of them, and Aaron Bupenza up top. Grayson, second week in a row, we've seen this sort of new look. I don't know what to call it, a 5-2-2-1 or something like that. What was your thought seeing this lineup?
My thought was, I think the first time we ever saw this was the first game OB sat out.
Yeah.
And I wonder if we'll see this formation if OB comes back. During the game, Tommy G said they're hoping for him to be available against Charlotte this weekend. Nice.
That would be great.
Which would be great.
But it is on turf, though, which you don't love coming back from an injury on turf. We'll see. But my thought was maybe this is to get more bodies in the midfield. Mm-hmm. So like Baird playing further back to help with the midfield presence because you don't have Obi there.
But at least Buka, Kubo, and Baird can all together shoulder some of that responsibility.
Yeah. It is an interesting dynamic because then when it plays out, the attack is obviously way more fluid than the little diagrams will ever suggest to you. But Acosta still has full freedom positionally to go wherever he wants. And yeah, you end up with a situation where like Baird is kind of behind Boupendza, but I think in reality, like I understand the team keeps putting out this lineup. It doesn't end up playing any different that I can tell from the traditional three-man midfield.
But watching this game as it sort of unfolded, there were times where it looked like they were playing something more akin to a 3-4-3 with Lucho staying in a more advanced position. With Baird and Boupendza both in an advanced position. And then inevitably, at some points, you would also see Acosta and Baird drift further back. And then Boupendza was playing more of a lone striker sort of setup as well. So the positional fluidity, I think, gives them choices for how to poke and prod at what opposing teams are doing. It's interesting. As I watched this game, my big takeaway from this game, other than the fact is that it was a really good win, is that it feels like they are trying desperately to do things and try things. I don't think this is about filling in for Obi at this point. I don't think that they're changing things for the defense. I think they are trying, and Noonan is trying anything and everything to get production from the striker group. What can we do to change things up with who's playing, how they're playing, how people are deployed to get opportunities for Boupendza specifically, but Boupendza and Baird to get them chances on target. Because if it's a great win, but if there is one sort of thing that I came away from this game still bothering me, it's that the striker play on this team is still bad. Not, we're waiting for goals. It's bad right now. Like they need to do something to get their strikers into a better run of form, get them better opportunities, and they need to finish opportunities when they're there.
I saw a headline about the striker play.
Did you?
This is from the New Hampshire Union Leader.
Okay.
Quote, I stand with the refs, unquote. Searching for new causes to explain goal boycott, Baird anxiously Googles if Ukraine is still happening.
I am still annoyed at how much Baird looks like Arias in person. every time I see him on the field, I'm like, oh wait, no, it's not him. I have an idea, Chief, because I think you're right in that the tweaks here are to help the attack in particular. I think it works if you swap Boupendza and Baird, and it's unconventional, but hear me out. What's killing Boupendza as the sole striker is that he is, for all intents and purposes, one-footed. He might be better with a wooden peg as his right foot instead of what he's running out there with. Like, it's not great. And teams know that if they can just push him to that side, he's useless. Like, he missed multiple great opportunities. There's an early one-on-one with the keeper where he has to put it on his left foot, and he just takes away the angle from himself, and he's useless. But if you swap him with Baird and you have him cheat more to the right side of the field, let Baird pull defenders wide to the left, you give him more opportunities to get the ball on his left. I think he scores more goals from there.
I did see a headline as well about this general topic as well. This came to me from Jim Cramer's newsletter. Baird market. Lower striker production leads to falling confidence among investors and FC Cincinnati fans.
It's right there. Do we have a bull? No, never mind.
Boupendza.
Bullpen, so there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can, it's not great. I will say though, like the opportunities are still there. I would be more worried if the opportunities just weren't showing up. Like, dare I say, Sergio Santos. I can't remember how many opportunities that guy gets a great chance. He did have one in this game, but like he doesn't have a lot of opportunities. At least Bupenza's getting one-on-one with the keeper regularly. Now he can only use his left foot, and it's 75%, 25%. He's not going to make it because of that. But
you think they've ever tried? You think they've tried in practice forcing him to only shoot with his right foot just to see if it can get better?
If I
like get him on like the leg press machine, but he's only able to use his right leg.
If I'm Kinnear, that's exactly what I'm doing. I don't know what you do. You take some bands or something and just tie his left foot up and just get him used to only using his right foot.
Wrap a bunch of pool noodles around his left foot so that he can't generate any power kicking the ball.
Yes.
with the striker play, I agree, Kevin. You feel better about it that they're getting chances, and every stat head will tell you that like what matters is is getting lots of chances,
right?
Because in the long run we're all dead or whatever.
That's what they are always saying.
I'm always saying that. It doesn't matter. We're all going to die someday.
But I'm gonna turn the dial on the striker play to concerned.
Ooh, okay.
Not alarmed, but above monitoring.
What terror threat level are we at right now? 3? Is this a 3?
Elevated.
So I would say we're at concerned about the striker play. Production, more so than the play.
Yeah. Yeah, the production obviously is the part that is the worst. Like, at the end of the day, the strikers need to score goals. This is a point that Chief has harped on for years, and it's not as consistent as you'd like it to be. Now, on the other hand,
and the team is not scoring goals.
Right, the team isn't.
The team is not scoring goal at a high clip either. So it's not like the strikers aren't scoring goals, but they're creating a lot, and other people are finishing. Yeah. Right. It's the strikers themselves are not finishing any of the opportunities they have.
Yeah, which, I mean, in some ways might also be a concern that Buka and Kubo and Yedlin and Oriano aren't racking up goals as well. Or even the center backs for that matter, considering how good our tall boys are at heading the ball, although Kipp Keller tried his best here. Yeah, I mean, just the other point is, too, that, Barrett and Bupenza can't score 2 goals each every single game. So I do want people to be like, Bupenza won't score every single game, and that's okay. But yes, granted, we've gone on long enough where we haven't seen that production. So yeah, in this game, early on, Acosta gets a yellow card for the strangest thing I've ever seen. Again, this referee was super weird with restarts. Acosta trying to take the quick restart, which is normal in MLS, and the New York City player is standing right in front of him, blocks the kick. Acosta is kicking it into him, but that's why he's standing there, is to block the kick to prevent the quick restart. And Acosta gets a yellow card, which again, just to set the tone for how weird this game was going to be officiated. I feel like 9 times out of 10, I've seen the defender, the New York City player, get the card in that situation, or just...
Yeah, for delay. That's the card is for, you didn't give him enough room to have his free kick. You delayed a quick restart. It's it's considered a professional card. I didn't think we were set, and I would rather take the card than give up a quick pass and a scoring opportunity. But to give the card to Acosta for complaining or dissent, that's nonsense.
Yeah, and that's back-to-back games now with Acosta with yellow cards. So everybody had their eye on Miazga this season. It looks like Acosta is going to quickly take up the...
Acosta's got 3 in 5 games.
Yeah, that's not good. That's a really bad pace.
He has to chill out a bit.
And he was not...
Much like Miazga, it's like he has 3 in 5 games, and only one of them is for something he actually did on the field.
Right.
And that was the he's gotten at least he's got two for dissent, right? And then the other one was him. He accidentally tripped on the turf and didn't actually make contact with anyone.
Yeah, which is nice. You love that.
So he's accumulated 3 yellow cards without touching anyone.
That's pretty impressive. Like you said, it is Matt Miazga-esque to see that performance out there. But it's not too much later that we see Kipp Keller score an incredible header, which would have been an assist by Lucho Acosta had VAR not been invented. And it was just such a well-won header that it makes me so happy. Memes aside, so happy that Kipp Keller is on our side and not anybody else's. What a fantastic pickup, and just well done to the coaching staff, sure, but the scouting staff as well that was confident in picking him up versus plenty of other options out there. And yeah, it's a shame that we don't get to remember that moment a little different.
Yeah, so Keller is just a couple of games. I think he started 3 games each in his first 2 seasons with Austin.
That's wild.
He started 4 for us in league play. So he's going to quickly have started more games for FC Cincinnati than he did 2 years in Austin. And, we said when he came over that he seemed to fit the profile of somebody who, could thrive in the way that FC Cincinnati has its center backs play. And, credit to our buddy, Kenny Arena, who I believe is kind of the lead coach of the center backs, to really have all 5 of those guys playing at a very high level. You
got to be just furious if you're an Austin FC fan too.
Yeah.
That you gave up on this guy for what amounts to, a handful of magic beans in a 3rd round super draft pick. And he's not only starting, but he's thriving for a team that is now top of the table early on in the Eastern Conference with 4 starts. If I'm a fan of Austin and, their defense hasn't been great, it's like, why aren't we maximizing talents like this? That's an indictment of your coaching staff to a certain extent.
Yeah. And, Kevin, you did say memes aside, but we all saw the picture of Keller sliding after his goal.
So good.
And I saw a headline about it.
Oh, please.
So I need everyone to either look up the picture or have the picture in your mind.
Okay. Done.
This is from Slate.com. Keller celebration shows his boundless enthusiasm. Generation Adidas? More like Generation Adidas.
Oh, Jesus.
First he starts scoring goals. Now he encroaches even further on Bupenza's territory. This is something else.
Wow. This is the content the team wants you to hear, according to that one guy on Reddit.
Damn.
My headline is lame by comparison. I don't even know if I want to do it now. Like, I can't compete with this.
I thought for sure you were going to compare him to a sandworm in Dune.
No.
Bless the maker and his sliding. Bless his coming and his going.
Especially the former.
Nailed it.
Yeah, I just had this from the famous Idaho Potato. Kipp, I've scored a goal. Inform the men. Kipp Keller's goal, unfortunately, zapped away by VAR.
Damn.
Not a Futurama fan, Kevin?
No, it took me a little bit to remember old Zap Brannigan there. Just whenever I think of him, I think of the neutral episode where they have to be very neutral with the I forget the whatever council or whatever they are. Yeah, just a killer moment, because it should have been, I don't know, should have been that. It wasn't that, just in case anybody tries to go back and get real mad about it, it wasn't that Keller was offside. It was that Acosta was offside when he gets the ball back. And he was, but Still, it's stupid to have that full-blown celebration. Everybody's happy, smoke goes off, and then it all gets pulled back, and we have to pretend like it never happened. Super frustrating. But then, I don't know, is there anything else from the first half that stuck out to you guys? Bupenza misses a one-on-one with Freeze there, but again, touched on that already.
Just got to do better.
Buka looked good. This was like one of the first games that I remember Buka like properly standing out, looking good. I mean, we know him.
I saw a headline about him.
Oh, please.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's in Broadway World.
Oh, not bodybuilding. Interesting.
Right. It's aided by a tour rent of home cheers. FC's Mimi midfielder Pavel Buka answers Roger to the call-ins, lighting a blaze of glory across the field and leaving fans feeling, okay, honey, to live La Vie Boheme with their new Czech angel.
That went that was a journey of a headline. How long was the article?
Yeah, right.
That was it. That was the whole thing.
I didn't read it. It's behind a paywall.
The Onion does that a lot. They just post a headline. There's no article attached to it.
Yeah, it's also like house style for Broadway World.
Oh, okay. They're just a headline outlet.
ChatGPT. I'm going to apologize in advance for this audio quality too, because they've just started lightly playing piano music in the lobby right here where I'm recording. So
it should be fine. YouTube might not like it, but otherwise we should be all right.
Whatever. Nobody watches on YouTube anyway.
Preach. But yeah, Buka looked good. Oriano had some styling on him moments in this one, but otherwise pretty uneventful first half after the pulled back goal. Celentano has a huge save in the second half. I was just thinking if that happened in the first half. Mm-hmm. Then early on in the second half, we do get our return of the golden boy, Nick Hagglund, subs in. It was a pretty good reception for him coming into this game. I do think that the weather hurt the overall enthusiasm on the night. I think on a warmer night, he gets a warmer reception. But it was awesome to see him come back out there, and doesn't look like he's missed a step. Like I think
he had a rough, like very first touch.
Sure.
But after that, slotted in just fine. Yeah,
look like the kind of guy that regularly starts for Supporter Shield winners and MLS Cup champions. So it's a really good veteran. And something that we talked about, or at least I brought up early on, is that this is, I think now, a proper test of Pat Noonan's man management skills, that he has 5-6 center backs that can conceivably start on this team or any other. And, at best we're getting 3 and 2 substitutes every game. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, where Hagglund actually sits on the depth chart with Keller and Murphy. I mean, Murphy's been solid, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Keller take his spot and Hagglund slot in, or if Hagglund is in fact our last place center back. I don't know where we stand exactly, but it's a good problem to have right now.
It's especially a good problem to have with as much running as our center backs do. A lot of our center backs tend to get into an advanced position. A couple of them will venture even further when they find the ball at their feet. But this is something where, as this year gets into the dog days, I do think there will be a tremendous value for this team being able to rest legs, have a proper rotation, and also when protecting leads in tight games, to be able to sub in a second wave of defenders as teams are bringing on fresh attackers. I think that is going to pay off enormous dividends down the stretch for this team.
Yeah, and for as much as we've said about Kipp Keller and Hagglund and Murphy and others, there were multiple times during that game where I just thought to myself, Matt Miazga is so good.
Yeah.
And also, here's your value with it, though, is that Miles Robinson is out on national team duty, and this team still kept a clean sheet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Obina Wobodo is out with injury. This team still kept a clean sheet. What's the difference between the FC last year and the FC this year? The difference is this year, they've got the dogs to play defense even when people go missing for long stretches of time, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And needed right now, given how rare scoring is.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that, we've talked about this all early season now, is that the defense being this good allows you the time to let your offense click. We're not in panic mode. We're not giving up 2 or 3 goals every game and needing to chase it. I'm realizing that I was looking at this game event rundown all wrong. I just blew right past Lucho Acosta scoring in the 57th minute. The one goal in this game.
Which I did see a headline about.
Oh, did you?
I did. I was also perusing BroadwayWorld.com. What is this feeling? The Bailey confused and unable to remember post-goal celebration following Lucho's wicked strike.
Nice.
Had to feel good to get the shalalas out there. Wasn't there to engage, but the first one always hits different in league play.
So not only that, I will say, for the first time in forever, first time ever, probably the better way to do that.
No, stick with the first time in forever that's on theme with the Broadway World.
With Broadway World. I don't think we have a proper Frozen musical yet, but it feels like it's inevitable.
There's a Broadway Frozen musical.
Is there? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, they just cast people that have played Glinda and Elphaba as Anna and Elsa.
Just throw them right back in. But no, the entire stadium doing the arms for the shalala. Like, it was way more widespread than I can ever remember. And by all means,
everybody was ready to go.
We were hyped. No, it was an awesome play from Acosta. You can tell Acosta is certainly in fine, I'll do it myself mode, because Baird, I think, is open. It's a little questionable when you go back and watch it. But no, it was a huge heads up play from Acosta to let the ball go through and to play the 1-2 with I think it's with Baird, and Baird actually just steps out of the way to let the shot go off, which is just so good. Just like, I'm just gonna leave you to this one, Lucho. And yeah, we are up 1-0, and it felt like a long time coming. That New York City absolutely had their chances, but on the day we were the better team, and it felt really good to finally have one. And yeah, it was enough with this defense, and then Hagelin subbing in not too long after that, they were able to hold on to the victory. Is there anything else on this goal that you guys wanted to touch on? Or
it's a Lucho goal.
Yeah,
it's like, like if you ask someone to picture what a Lucho Acosta goal looks like, it was your rank standard. This is Lucho. Yeah, I'm going to do this myself. If I don't score this goal. It was him personally willing this team not to have another 0-0 draw at home in this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, he scored a bunch of goals like this. It's like remarkable in how unremarkable it is.
Yeah.
That Lucho's like consistently capable of pulling this off.
I know this comparison is stupid, and also going to compare him to my favorite player of all time. He has so much Ronaldinho in him that, like, you watch it and you just go, like, why doesn't everybody just do this? Like, why don't you just dribble through everybody every time? Duh. And it's just like, oh, right. It takes a very particular special kind of player to be able to do this. And I did think that play did sort of suggest to me that there is a clicking going on with the attack, that guys are starting to figure it out. And
Bupenza, Baird, and Acosta all touched the ball.
Yeah.
In the lead up to that goal, right?
That's what he's playing. I couldn't get the video to load. I usually watch the clip here. He's playing the 1-2 with Bupenza, and then
Bupenza passes forward. Lucho dummies it.
That's it.
To Baird. Well, I guess dummies to Baird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Baird plays it to Acosta.
That's it. And then runs overlap. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so just so good to finally see it clicking for a goal finally. Like that was...
I'm sorry if that description was wrong. It was from memory. So.
No, that's good. I don't have anything to compare it to, so you're good. Just in case somebody is unfamiliar, dummying the ball is where you let the ball kind of go through you as if you've completely missed the pass on purpose because you're intending to let the ball go through you to another person. Dummying in the right spot can absolutely destroy a defense because they are expecting a particular player to get on the ball. When they don't, the ball goes through them and somebody is running full speed at them behind it. It can be pretty devastating. And it's not at full speed here, but that is pretty much what happens here. The defense is collapsing in on Acosta and the ball slips through him to Baird, and they have to react suddenly to the new situation, and it throws them off enough. So yeah, it was awesome play. And the game ends with Roman having to make at least two saves that I can think of that were just spectacular. There's one in particular. He defends a header, point blank header that goes straight at the ground, like straight at the goal line, and he is able to get down quickly and defend it away. And I almost feel like Celentano isn't getting enough credit. Like he is continuing to grow year after year. I am so impressed with his shot stopping right now. The one thing, though, and I really hate to do this to him because I just want to keep all sorts of praise on this game. The distribution and playing out of the back is still so weird to me. There's a moment in this game where Celentano literally drops the ball like onto Miazga's foot, and New York City had the scouting playbook on FCC playing it out of the back, and it created some dicey moments in this game.
His distribution has not improved to where I was expecting it to improve after his first year. The first year he started was 2022, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. When he was drafted. And we said that he needed to work on his distribution after that first year, that it was not good, that he kicks the ball out of play too often. And you still see that from him. You still see him kick the ball out of play. You still see him. He's still tentative on a lot of his passes. And it leads to balls that are played to the wrong side of players where they have to stop their momentum to get it. And then it allows the defense opportunity to collapse. And these are on high percentage passes, where these are passes where he has the ball, he has the time to pick where it needs to go, and he still puts it to the wrong foot or to the wrong side of players, not enough pace on the ball. It's for as good as he is at controlling his back line, at shot stopping in game. If there are two problems with Roman, it's number one, that he is just an absolutely terrible penalty stopper, and that the distribution hasn't improved the same way a lot of his other in-game skills have, to the point now where I do wonder. Goalkeeper is a position where your prime is a lot older than it is for other positions. So it's possible that this skill is yet to be developed, but I was kind of hoping that it would be a little faster coming along. Where now I don't worry about, I had thought originally after his first year that he would be a guy you might have to worry about losing to Europe at some point. His distribution is not at a point where I worry about him leaving MLS anytime soon.
It's kind of traditionally a weak spot for American developed keepers who don't come up through like youth academies and instead go through, the college system like Roman did. It was a problem with Turner for a number of years. It's still not the strongest part of his game by any means. So I think it kind of matches with Roman's background. It's probably what's keeping him from getting, any time at the national team. For the camps that he's been called up, Callender and Schulte have been preferred to him. Mm-hmm. And I gotta think it's the distribution.
Yeah. I mean, is particularly with Berhalter, and this is why he called up Zach Steffen for years and years and years, even when nobody else was even thinking about him, is he just trusted him with the ball at his feet more than any other keeper in the pool. It's weird that, like, I guess it's a function of not having Vasquez, that they don't trust the front line to win headers. But at the same time, if you're going to concede that, like, sometimes when playing it out of the back, you're going to get pressured and lose the ball, I'd rather be losing the ball at midfield than in our box. So,
well, that was like the thing that NYCFC did most effectively.
Yeah.
Was when we were playing the ball out of the back, our center backs or outside backs were always receiving the ball facing the goal.
Yeah.
So they were receiving it on their weak foot, essentially. And NYCFC was, like, time and again right on him, not giving them any space to turn, making them play a pass, usually backwards or make them, there were a couple of times that Oriano, pulled off, I think, some fairly remarkable, like, turns to, like, get out of those situations.
Some good moments for him.
But it was consistently dicey.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. So this is my question, is that if MLS is a league that it's a high pressing league, the most successful teams in MLS high press, the least successful teams in MLS also attempt to high press. They're just not as good at it.
Right.
The fascination with always playing out of the back, it seems counterintuitive to that. If teams want to high press you, and that's like their preferred method, and teams like expend a lot of energy doing this, it feels like there would be the market inefficiency is playing long balls in MLS.
We can't do that with our front line.
Yeah, the problem is
it's a lost ball nearly every time.
We've got short boys up top these days. The other thing is, too, it probably does speak to the confidence they have in the back line and the midfield, is that the best way to beat a press is to pass your way out of it. And if you think that Miles Robinson and Matt Miazga can pass to Buka and Obi consistently enough with Yedlin and Oriano as outlets on the wings, that if you can string the right series of passes, you can cut out their whole team in 2 passes. Like, it enables faster counterattacks and faster buildup of play if you can string together the right passes. Now, New York City was particularly good at pressing in this one, and we didn't see that as often. But I think that's the theory here, is that they just trust the ball skills of our guys more. But
yeah, all I'm hearing is that we need to make sure this U22 striker gets someone with a little bit of height.
Yeah. How tall was Nascimento?
I think he's like just under 6 foot.
That's tall for soccer. So.
That's positively a giant by comparison.
5'4". Bring it on, baby. They'll lose him. Cool. The only other thing I wanted to talk about this match, because it is in the discourse, is Lucho Acosta. Is he a net negative for this team?
No. When you started with Lucho Acosta, it's like, I don't want to give a minute of our time to that nonsense.
So here's what I will say. If you guys want to add to it, so be it.
If you're going to talk about it, you better explain what we're talking about. Okay. I guarantee you, this is a weird corner of Reddit we're about to expose the rest of the public.
I think Kevin wasn't going there.
No, well, it depends, but no, this is the only thing. Lucho Acosta's performance and
okay.
people. Yeah, no, I'm not going TMZ around here.
Good.
We'll leave that until
going waggy here.
Yeah. So, basically, there's a group of fans that look at Lucho giving up the ball and not stringing, not being accurate on every single pass as basically being a a hindrance to this team. Now, to give slight credit to that, I will say he did have a couple of giveaways in this game in bad spots that certainly prompted good counterattacks from New York City by all means. But the idea here is that Lucho's, I always joke about his body language because he is, very vocal about not getting the ball or not getting the ball in the right spot or whatever he wants. That combined with his sometimes not being the most protective of the ball, people criticize his performance, even with the moment of brilliance that he does tend to bring to this game. My only point to that would be, imagine you get your way and you end up with a less creative, less risk-taking Lucho Acosta. Is this a better team because of that? And I don't think you can conceivably come up with a team that is better because Lucho Acosta makes a safe back pass to Yuya Kubo more often than he does try to pull off a slick pass to Bupenza running between three defenders.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So no, what Lucho is, the best comparison I can offer is Lucho Acosta he's Brett Favre.
I knew exactly where you were going. Yep.
He's a gunslinger, man. Like he's trying stuff. He's going to be creative. It isn't all going to work. And that's part of what you take. You take that because the moments of brilliance don't happen without first attempting the audacious. And there are things on the soccer field that Lucho Acosta does that he has no right to even try doing. And it works a lot of the time. But when it fails spectacularly, and the failures stick out in your mind because everyone groans at the same time that the pass didn't get through and we conceded possession, or he tried to dribble around someone and loses the ball, and everyone's screaming that why didn't he pass that, or why didn't he do something different? Well, the answer was because if this works, this is better than any other choice that he could have possibly made. You just have to accept the fact that it doesn't work all the time. Why was Brett Favre so good as a quarterback? It was because he was willing to try that throw that got picked off about 5% of the time. That's why he was great.
Lucho's an artist.
Yeah.
He's an artist, and like any artist, he's going to take big swings. And, he hits higher highs than I think a lot of players that play it more safe. And, I think you could think of any number of like artists in other media who there's people who are like very safe players. They make conservative choices and they consistently deliver like a very predictably good product. And there's other artists that make very strong choices and they deliver wildly creative and successful things, and they deliver huge bombs, and you gotta, it's just what kind of player or person are you dealing with? And, we have Lucho, right? And like, I'm not convinced the team would be better with a different kind of player. And even with the couple of giveaways that he gave, we have confidence in our defense that they'll be able to salvage those situations when they come up. But part of it also is, consistently under Noonan, they've endeavored to make sure that Lucho is keeping the ball, is getting the ball higher up the field than he was under, say, Jaap Stam.
Yeah, exactly.
So that like if he loses the ball in our attacking half or our attacking third, it's a much less big deal.
Yeah.
And the reward is higher.
Right.
If he pulls something off.
Yeah. Like, to put it in baseball terms, I'm going to throw some names out there to you. Derek Jeter, Tony Perez, Jim Thome, Reggie Jackson, all in the top 25 strikeout leaders for batters. Like, sometimes the really good guys have their bad days. I'm pretty sure Babe Ruth held the MLB record for strikeouts when he retired, as also being the home run king. So, it's gonna happen sometimes when you're taking risks.
Nolan Ryan walked a shitload of batters in his career. It's
right. Like it was like a genuine criticism of him. And like, yeah, like you're gonna have to take the good and the bad. And if you ask Acosta to tone it down, you don't get the Lucho Acosta that we have.
Here's how you know this take is
Lucho
nonsense.
is David Lynch. And
yes.
Some other player is like Denis Villeneuve. And like maybe you like Denis' Dune better than David Lynch's Dune. But Denis is never going to make Mulholland Drive.
Or Eraserhead, for that matter. I was doing a brewery tour at Fat Tire today, and while we were walking through the production facility, someone was watching David Lynch's Dune on a very large TV in a brewing production room, and I had so many questions. Like, why?
Are you doing this for a podcast?
Yeah.
Because what podcast? Do you want to come on our podcast?
It's like, we don't do you know anything about soccer? No, neither do we. Come on, let's do this. Let's talk Dune. The other thing too, you know how you know this take is nonsense? Is that there isn't a single person that follows this league that isn't an FC Cincinnati like adjacent or connected to the FC Cincinnati fan base that has it. Like everyone else out there views Lucho Acosta as one of, if not the most talented player in the league.
Yeah.
He's really, really good.
In the defense of our fans, those people are not watching our games. They're just seeing the highlights.
Just to wrap it up, Tyler Snipes wrote this up on MLSsoccer.com. Lucho Acosta is the 7th player in MLS history to register 60 goals and 80 assists all time. If he were to get 10 more goals and 11 more assists this season, which feels like a lock, he will pass Kobe Jones on this list. It's a pretty solid list, including Landon Donovan, Jaime Moreno, Diego Valeri, Pretke, Steve Ralston, Kobe Jones, and now Lucho Acosta. So amongst the greatest
bunch
to
of
ever
American legends.
Yeah, it's really,
except for Moreno.
Definitely not Moreno. Diego Valeri could be an American broadcasting legend by the time it's all done.
Yeah, I don't remember if he got his citizenship or not.
I don't think so.
What I'm really hoping for is that everyone's appreciation of Lucho, that we work our way through these takes and everybody sort of comes to the same realization that we're already at about Lucho's greatness around the same time that he gets his American citizenship. So that way I can go out and I can blame them all for being xenophobic and not liking Lucho before he became an American.
Oh, man. Lucho Acosta off the bench. We joke about Lucho being a super sub. He could be the greatest super sub for the U.S. men's national team. It'd be so much fun.
He'll make a lot of people really mad.
Oh my God.
And I can't wait for
his body language alone. They'd go nuts. Who is he yelling at every referee? And Gio Reyna and Christian Pulisic.
We'll get a lot of them to show their ass by saying he's not the right kind of American to play on the team.
Bring
Love
back
it.
the Klinsmann era discourse. Let's hear it. Cool. I think that does it for
that's a dub, baby.
this game. We'll touch on some bigger picture stuff in part 2, and then we'll get you out of here. And before we get into the next part of the episode, I want to tell you about our other sponsor, Cincy Shirts. And if you're going to sit here and tell me that you've never heard of Cincy Shirts, I'm going to sit here and tell you I don't believe you, because these guys have been with FC Cincinnati from the very beginning. And we here at The Post, well, we are just huge fans of their work. They have tons of really cool FC Cincinnati gear, shirts, hoodies, hats, all sorts of cool stuff. Go over to their website, check out what they are selling. You want to go to cincyshirts.com. That is Cincy with a Y, or you can just click the link in the description of this episode. And when you go there, use the promo code ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps, and they will knock 10% off your next order. They have MLS and MLSPA licensed FCC gear available online or in their 3 retail locations in Hyde Park, Fort Mitchell, or Loveland. And I can attest to this. I've used this before. If they don't have your size on the shelf, they can probably print you one on the spot in the store. So again, huge thank you to Cincy Shirts for sponsoring the podcast, and a huge thank you to you, dear listener, for using that promo code. All right, we are back, and really what I wanted was an entire section dedicated to the fact that as of time of recording, FC Cincinnati is the number one team in the Supporter Shield standings. They are the number one team in the Eastern Conference standings. I will not acknowledge the fact that Minnesota is higher than us on a points per game basis. They have a game in hand on us. I'm not acknowledging it. We are the number one team. We are... and this is my favorite point, we are on pace with the Supporter Shield winning team last year. That was, again,
which was us.
FC Cincinnati.
In case you forgot.
And that team...
As first reported by the Post Cincy.
Were we the first to say that we were the Supporter Shield winners? That'd be funny to try to go back and claim that.
I'm calling first on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had it first.
Please credit.
Yeah, every time you mention it, you have to say, as first reported by the Post Cincy. No, but both last year and this year now, because we are tied, are ahead of pace of the New England Revolution's all-time points record set in 2021. So there you go, folks.
So I have a question for the assembled group here.
Okay.
We said in the preseason, we don't care about Supporter Shield. At what point do we have to revisit that take? I'm not saying it's now, but like at what point do we have to start saying, you know what, we need to win this trophy?
So here's my thought. Do you want the team to do well in every game that they play?
I mean, yes.
So then you're in favor of the Supporter Shield race.
And there's no Open Cup or other tournament that going on during the season to worry about.
Right. There's no rotation. Like, if you want this team to win every game, you are inherently rooting for the Supporter Shield title to come home.
I want the double. The double would be nice.
Yep.
But I'm not gonna really like
stress
about the Supporter Shield until we get to a point in the season where like we have if we had like a significant points cushion like we had last year, and it would be like kind of a collapse not to win it.
I don't care about the Supporter Shield. I do care about clinching home field advantage throughout the playoffs. I understand that there's a problem with those 2 points. And of course, the double Grayson is referring to is he wants to win the Open Cup and the Leagues Cup. He is truly anti-MLS Cup. I also believe that if we do win either the Supporters Shield or MLS Cup, we should also claim the U.S. Open Cup that we would have won it if we had entered. So I think I think any win this year becomes the double immediately.
Oh, I like that point a lot.
And that would be great because I really pissed off U.S. Open Cup Twitter this week by suggesting it should be an immediate forfeit for any team that tries to play a game with NFL lines already on their field. I'm going to die on this hill that I believe that should happen. But can you imagine the reaction if we just declared ourselves U.S. Open Cup, the true U.S. Open Cup?
If a non-MLS team wins, yeah.
Challenge them to a one-off game.
We just say we would have won if we were eligible.
Right. It's got to be like in a video game when the secret boss emerges after you've already gotten rid of all the other fighters. Like,
yes.
You don't get to fight Saget and M. Bison until you've cleared the board. We have to emerge at the end as like the final boss for you to fight. And we're going to take the fucking cup from you if you don't beat us.
God, I would love so much for us to just like challenge the Open Cup winner to a home and home for the actual title. Like, oh, are you scared? You didn't want to play an MLS team? Interesting.
Yeah, like Lucho Acosta flies to their city, like walks up to their captain with a white glove and just smacks him across the face. Demands satisfaction.
An upstart. Yeah, that would be... God, that'd be so funny. I think it's Leagues Cup. I think it's at the Leagues Cup break or coming out of the Leagues Cup, depending on how Leagues Cup goes. I think that's when you can truly start to like worry about the title race, the Supporter Shield race. Until then, it's just fun and everybody's playing an uneven number of games and an uneven schedule. So it's going to be too hard to get a real sense of it. But I think by the time we get there, you get a gist of what's going on with this. Miami losing 4-0 to New York Red Bulls was just so funny. Just so funny. The images.
Columbus.
Oh, yes, please.
Columbus melting down over. And so Columbus lost to Charlotte this weekend.
Yep.
I did not watch the game because our game was on. But Columbus fans are throwing a fit online about an offside call that took a goal away from them. And the irony is not lost on me for sure.
Never happened to us.
But to a person, they are sharing pictures and video that show nothing. They show nothing about what was going on. They don't show you like when the ball was first played. They don't show you where the guy was when the guy was first played. They just show you later in the play when it's like, no, this is not when the offside call was. And then somebody finally took a screenshot of the VAR screen from the Apple feed. And you can look at the lines on the field. In that shot, the crew player is several feet past the last defender.
Right.
And it's a little grainy, but you can tell where the people are in the lines of the field.
Right.
I don't know what. I don't know. It's funny.
The mowing lines are helpful here, folks. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I want to start establishing this as a take. I want to do away with the mowing lines. All the mowing lines are doing is helping people be offside. I feel like we never get the benefit of that at TQL Stadium. It's always us being called offside, that we don't ever get goals called back because someone was offside on the VAR. Let's get rid of the mowing lines to make it harder for them to figure this shit out.
God, that'd be.
I also want to add that I don't care if the guy was onside or offside.
No, I don't care either.
It would be funny to me either way.
I think if PSRA really wanted to screw with the replacement officials, they would start paying off the groundskeepers to cut the field in like a zigzag dazzle camouflage pattern to make it harder to see how things line up. That would be the true insidious thing to do. On the subject of the Columbus Crew, many people asking, Wilfred Nancy did not travel to this match. The team claims it was for an illness, but I have several people reporting to me that the reason for this was that he was traveling overseas for an interview with one of the European giants. Have you heard these similar rumors that I'm starting right now?
I'm also hearing the same things.
It would be,
it would be
right
a shame. Now. It would be a shame. It would be an absolute shame if FC Cincinnati fans got to work making sure that as many people as possible heard that Wilfred Nancy was not sick, and that was a cover story so that he could interview with, I don't know, pick any club over in Europe with a managerial vacancy.
Yeah, particularly one in France. But yes, that
and by that he means you can pick any club in Europe, because if any club doesn't currently have a vacancy, just wait 5 minutes. They'll have a vacancy.
Right. You should always have like a coach on retainer, right? Ready
if it's not Man City. And even then, like, he's not gonna be there forever.
Right. I mean, jokes aside, I do hope Nancy gets an opportunity to go overseas. Like, that would be awesome. Good for FCC, sure. But like, it'd be nice to see like an MLS coaching product, like actually make the leap. Hasn't always gone great, so it'd be nice to see like one successful story. Patrick Vieira, I guess, is doing okay. That's it.
Yeah, MLS famously created Patrick Vieira.
I'm just saying, coaching wise, yes.
Yeah, Ron Jans also did pretty well when he left.
MLS veteran.
I'll tell you one mistake he probably doesn't make anymore. Karaoke.
Karaoke. Over there, they love it. It's a great act over there.
God. Oh, geez. The last point I wanted to touch on, big picture, unless anybody else had anything, was the referee situation. We talked about it during the match recap. However, I'm seeing highlight after highlight anymore from game after game where it does truly feel like the replacement referees are getting worse over time. And I can't figure out why that would be happening.
Could it be because, well, two things. One is, could the players be pushing it more? Knowing that, or at least believing that the quality of ref is lower. And then two, does the fact that like they're under kind of an unprecedented microscope from the media and from other officials, that it's making them nervous and care about things like exactly where the spot of the ball is on the throw in, and like, because there have been blown calls the entire time I've been watching MLS in every game, basically.
Right.
There's been VAR in, all the time.
Yep.
And I've never seen the media micromanage the referees like they are now.
Yeah.
And it's just shocking because like The Athletic in particular is taking like a hard line where it's like, oh, this is like union busting or whatever. And I want to remind everybody
every time
The Athletic is union busting. The New York Times closed down its unionized sports desk when it bought The Athletic, which are non-union writers.
Yes.
I think that it's probably a lot of factors at work. I think factor number one is, like you said, that more attention is being paid to this. So we're seeing, whereas it used to be MLS officials being bad was just part of what you had to accept when you followed this league. So it was truly only the most egregious calls. Like there was just stuff that would happen in MLS games that was just cosmic background radiation, and you just wouldn't even pay attention to it anymore. Now all of those things are being put on Front Street because there are people now that have an agenda and have a reason to do that, to clip it, to complain about it.
Yeah.
So you're getting that. I think that there is probably an aspect of this that the players now have an idea that the lines are different, that there's more you can get away with, that they're going to try to do more, knowing that, the other thing too is that with the players, you have to worry. It's like in baseball, you can't turn around and scream at every umpire for a call because that guy's going to be umping your game in another 2 weeks. With some of these guys, there's no incentive for the player to try and be on their best behavior or not try to get away with things because these guys probably aren't going to be around officiating them in the next time they come around. So your odds of seeing the same ref again, whereas the PSRA guys, if you do something shitty on the field, you have to worry about the ref maybe holding it against you the next go around. You can get away with more when there's no fear that these guys are going to see your act and do something differently. And the other thing too is that for the first couple of weeks, the players were still rounding into form. And now, we're seeing most of the players with weeks of training. And this is probably for the next couple of weeks, the height of the MLS product before injuries and other things start to take its toll on it. So these weeks from April to, I'll say, June are probably the hardest weeks to officiate just because everyone's healthy, everyone's fresh. The game is probably moving faster. The starters have more minutes in them still. They haven't burned through things. So, yeah, I think if mistakes are going to happen, they're going to happen now. But again, I want to be very clear. I support the replacement officials. They're making it hard for me to do this, but I still support them because we already know who the other people are. And those people are a cartel, a group of thugs, a mob group that has decided upon themselves that they are going to, play favorites. They're going to be the third team. And like all teams, they have rivals. And we are one of their rivals. Like the third team derby is FC Cincinnati versus PSRA. I hate this. And I am not looking forward to the resumption of this rivalry.
Yeah. And, it's like the PSRA has they've straight up lied in their campaign. Like an article or an interview that the union president gave to an Austin website came to my attention this week. And
this was egregious.
So in the article, they mentioned that Steve Cherundolo was fined for complaining about the game in Salt Lake that was in snow.
Yeah.
Not being canceled. And he was fined under the public criticism policy. And the PSRA president said, well, I know also where sorry, I got interrupted because I think Mexico just got awarded a penalty. He's like, I know also where you can't speak dissent. It's North Korea. And well, there's a provision in the PSRA collective bargaining agreement that requires the employer to cooperate with them to like essentially like stifle criticism of referees.
Yeah.
Okay. It's in their contract. Point number 2, the public criticism policy has been around for a while. You can just Google it. There's tons of coaches and players getting fined every season, including Pat Noonan, Bruce Arena multiple times.
Yep.
For criticizing referees. And these are the union referees, right? And then number 3, you can talk about the third team. Both of the teams playing the game have to sit down and answer questions at a press conference. The refs get like one written question.
Yeah, from the pool of reporters.
They can answer it or not.
Right.
Right? Like, if you want to talk about like, is this, like, if you want to call like whatever is going on right now, like North Korea, it's like we've always lived in North Korea.
Right.
It's like it's always been that way. And it's just like, frankly, it's like shockingly dishonest.
Yeah.
For him to like go on this website and act like this is something new or unprecedented. And frankly, it's a bit amateurish of that journalist to print it with just credulously.
Without just looking into it. Yeah, I pulled it up here. It's Article 11, public criticism of officials. It's one sentence here. Pro and PSRA agree to work collaboratively to try to eliminate significant unwarranted public criticism of PRO officials or their officiating. So it's not even
who else
like
worked and collaborated to eliminate public criticism.
Oh, who's that?
The Stasi.
The Un family, yeah. Yeah, I like the work. There's just so many
COINTELPRO.
Unwarranted public criticism of officials or their officiating. So, like, what's insignificant warranted criticism? Like,
yeah. What if it's warranted though? Like.
And I
Truth
like how
should be the absolute defense in this space, right?
And it separates officials and their officiating. So like I could understand of like take the heat off the person, put it on the job, but no, it's both. Ah, man, weird stuff. It does sound like
officials and their officiating, not officials or their officiating.
Oh,
so,
it is or. Excuse me
okay.
if I misstated that.
I was about to say that. I have a loophole I've identified now. As long as you don't talk about their officiating, it's like, yeah, this guy.
I just make fun
just
of his
about,
shirt
like, their
color.
Parenting,
right?
I would never.
Like I saw him at a wedding. He was wearing an obviously cheap suit and a clip-on tie.
At the very least, it does sound like, I don't know where this ended up, an offer or a tentative agreement, or there was some progress in the negotiations late last week. So
it was reported by, I think, Glenn Crooks. He's an NYCFC journalist. I think he works for like Yes Network.
Okay, yeah.
He said that there's a tentative agreement and it was going up to a vote sometime this weekend.
Okay.
I have not seen any reporting about that since. So we have no idea as of the time of recording if they even held the vote, much less what the results were.
Yeah. It's so frustrating that like...
I just have to believe at this point that they are in it to break the union. Like you've gone on this long. you may as well see how much more money's left in the strike fund if you're MLS.
Yeah, I'm almost thinking too that like if there is enough public pushback on these replacement referees, that the union has no real incentive to jump to the first deal to like let MLS accumulate as much egg on their face as possible with every blown call or whatever. But
I will boo loudly the first match back for the PSRA officials winning if that happens. Like, imagine Kipp Keller's reaction, but exactly the opposite. That's what I'm hoping for.
Right.
In the triumphant return of our PSRA third team overlords.
The PSRA are just in such a funny position as a union because for every referee, this is not their main job, but they also make
there are a few referees who are full-time referees, but like for example, you talk about a weird position. So one of the charges that Pro actually filed against the PSRA was that Chris Penso was threatening people who work as replacement officials will not get college assignments. And Chris Penso is actually the officiating coordinator for a couple of NCAA conferences. So in that context, he's management.
Right. And
he's taking management consequences on non-bargaining unit employment that he happens to control against people who, are engaging in labor rights. Like, it is your labor right to work as a replacement worker. You may not like it. I may not like it conceptually, but it is an exercise of your rights as a worker to do it.
Right. It is. But yeah, like when we have like PF Chang directors of audits, it's like, how much is in the strike fund?
PF Chang's famously not
right.
unionized restaurants.
Extremely pro-union. You talk about strike funds, and I totally understand that these guys are making, $100,000 plus a year, and I'm sure that is factored into the old family budget. But like, a lot of these guys have other revenue streams coming in. It's not like the auto workers where the whole family's out of income. Yeah.
But Christina Uncle is the president of a USL. She's not an MLS referee, but she's been very vocal on the labor thing.
Yeah.
She's the president of a USL Super League team. Is the USL Super League unionized? Like, is there a players union for that league? I don't know. I haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
Are they going to be using union refs under a union contract? I don't know. I would ask those questions of somebody who was in management in that league.
Yeah. Will she
especially
advocate?
If they were like talking about, labor rights as a broad concept, but this is outside of my.
But I also want this strike to go on a little bit longer, just so that we can have the sympathy pieces running, where it talks about the sacrifices that the PSRA officials have had to make as this strike goes on, like a tearful conversation around the family dinner table of kids. I'm sorry, I know it's your summer break and you were really looking forward to it, but we can't take that 3-month holiday in Australia like you were asking for. Unfortunately, daddy's side gig got canceled and we're not going to see that extra $100,000 this year.
Yeah. Or like, sorry kids, dad's only going to be gone 25 weekends this year and not 35.
Daddy's still picking up every CONCACAF college assignment and lower division assignment.
A tearful Guido Gonzalez has to turn back in his leased G-Wagon and tell the dealership, I'm sorry, I have to drop down to an S-Class. I can't afford to lease this vehicle again because my job with the MLS as a referee has dried up.
And then people talk about paying the refs, like they're paying the refs. The refs are getting paid. The question is whether they should get paid, X more or Y more. It's going to be a raise. They're going to make more money. It's going to be fine. And if you look up, how officials are paid around the world, MLS is not very far behind on official pay from, a top 3-4 league, and pay for lower leagues like the Eredivisie and the Belgian league are hard to come by. But I would be shocked if MLS officials were not more well paid than officials in those leagues.
Yeah.
And the fact is that MLS players are not.
Yeah, you see it a little bit, but man, if there was such a pay gap, you'd see these guys moving overseas. Like there would be opportunities to go from a Division I league, a top flight league to another top flight league, even as an assistant referee or something to try to work your way up. I think Chilowicz was like the only one.
Podcast. Thanks. I think, yeah. No, thank you.
I was going to say this might be the perfect way to end the episode.
That was they were informing me that it was last call for the bar. So,
well, we better end it soon.
Yeah, come on. Definitely don't want to steal that from you.
I guess then, live from the Renaissance Hotel in Asheville, go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. I also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.